We're gathered on this storied waterfront to celebrate 250 years of strength, tenacity, and unwavering courage by the greatest fighting force even, and that's true, no matter where you go, no matter what you even think about, there's nothing like the fighting force that we have. Roamed the seas, it's called the United States Navy, and there's nothing in the world like it, nothing, not even close. You read stories, they don't have it. Let me tell you, we check it closely. We check it closely. Docked beside us today are a combined 150,000 tons of pure American naval supremacy and two colossal reasons why no one should ever want to start a fight with the USA. They won't fight. We're putting out a lot of fights, so do you see that? We're going to be close to number 8. Number 8. We don't want to send you into battle unless it's necessary, right? We're putting out a lot of fires. Maybe some of you will be angry. You'll say, what's he doing? We want to fight. You know what? If we can solve them the way I'm solving them, we solve 7. We have another one that's taken 3,000 years, and we're pretty close, but I don't want to talk about it until it's done. All over the world, people know of the skill, nerve, swagger, and sheer attitude of the boldest and most daring pilots on the sea, the U.S. naval aviators, and I just got to witness it with Melania. They land screaming jets on pitching decks in the dark of night with no room for error. There's no room for error. The greatest pilots in the world. And while Navy pilots rain down pain from above, the greatest adversaries fear the daring deeds of our silent service below. They prowl and strike from crushing depths, unseen, undetected, and unstoppable. They are our brave submariners. Where are the submariners? And they are brave. The most lethal weapon in the world, I will tell you, nobody knows where it is and what it carries. There's nothing that carries weaponry like that. And we're 25 years ahead of any other country when it comes to submarines. Nobody's even close. Nobody can match us. No roll call of Navy warriors would be complete without recognizing some of the fiercest and most elite commandos in the history of war. They are the toughest, and there's nobody tougher. There's just nobody. That's what they tell me. There's nobody tougher. It's called the Navy SEALs. What do you think about the Navy SEALs? Where are the Navy SEALs? We're not going to mess with the Navy SEALs. They are great. Thank you very much. Incredible people. With us today are some of those who have led these exceptional men and women. They've led them like nobody else. And I'll tell you, a person I'm very, very proud of. He has stepped up, and he's hitting home run after home run. They love him. I want to introduce, again, a man who's just exceptional. I'm so happy with this choice. Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. Thank you, Pete. Doing a job. I said, Pete, what do you think? You know, we used to call it Secretary of War, the Department of War, the War Department. Now we call it Defense. And I don't know, would you ever want to, you know, we won World War I. We won World War II. We won everything in between. We won everything before. And all of a sudden, they decide to change the name. They went woke then, too, you know. Woke is a long-term word. I said, what do you think about changing it to the Department of War? He said, I love it, sir. And that was about the end of it, right? That was the end of it. Thank you, Pete. Great job. He's a great leader. Also, and a very special thanks to a man who just got a 93% approval. He runs the Veterans Everything, I call it. He's Veterans Everything. The VA Secretary Doug Collins. He's doing great. Thank you, Doug. Doing a great job. Ambassador Monica Crowley. Monica, thank you very much. A man that everybody loves. He was my doctor in the White House, and I got to know him very well. He was also the doctor for Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And he was the doctor for a man named Bush. And at a press conference, they asked him, who's in the best shape? Who's the healthiest? Who's the strongest? Who's the best physical specimen of the three? He said, that's easy. President Donald Trump. And I said, I love this guy. I said, I love him. Ronnie Jackson, he's now a congressman, as you know. So he was an admiral. He was a chief doctor. He was the whole boss of doctors. And now he's a very, very successful congressman from Texas. Thank you, Ronnie, very much. And I appreciate those words. I'll never forget them. From the American Revolution until today, the story of the U.S. Navy is a tale of loyalty, sacrifice, and commitment stretching back 250 years. So we're celebrating 250. I almost thought I wouldn't get to do that because I was president in 2016, and then they rigged the election on me. And then we caught him, didn't we? We caught him, but you know, we had to run it again. I ran it again, and I got 250, and I got the World Cup, and I got the Olympics. Can you believe all of it? In my first term, I was the one that got the Olympics. I was the one that got the World Cup. And I said, you know, the sad part is, maybe I'll go, maybe I won't even be invited because it won't be during my term. I would say, if we're a Democrat, I might not be invited. They don't love me exactly too much. And then when this happened, now all of a sudden they got all three. But you know what's the most important? 250 years is the most important, above World Cup, above Olympic. But we got them all coming. And history will never forget that it was the SEALs who stormed the compound at Osama bin Laden and put a bullet in his head. Remember that? And please remember, I wrote about Osama bin Laden exactly 1 year ago, 1 year before he blew up the World Trade Center. And I said, you got to watch Osama bin Laden. And the fake news would never let me get away with that statement unless it was true. But I said 1 year before to Pete Hegseth, I said 1 year before, where's Pete? In the book, I wrote, whatever the hell the title, I can't tell you. But I can tell you there's a page in there devoted to the fact that I saw somebody named Osama bin Laden, and I didn't like it, and you got to take care of him. They didn't do it. A year later, he blew up the World Trade Center, so we got to take a little credit because nobody else is going to give it to me. You know the old story? They don't give you credit, just take it yourself. And it was the U.S. Navy that dumped his wretched corpse off the decks of the Carl Vinson to sink into the dark abyss. Just a few months ago, the Ohio-class guided missile submarine played an indispensable part in one of the most spectacular military feats the world has ever seen, the obliteration of Iran's nuclear sites in Operation Midnight Hammer. How did that work out? Pretty good, right? And we shot 30 Tomahawks, you know that. On top of, after the B-2, how about that? The B-2s, what they did, those beautiful flying wings, what they did, they hit every single target they hit. And just in case we shot 30 Tomahawks out of a submarine, every one of them hit too. So I would say Iran was not particularly thrilled. They were going to have a nuclear weapon within a month. And now they can start the operation all over again, but I hope they don't because we'll have to take care of that too if they do. I let them know that you want to do that, it's fine. But we're going to take care of that, and we're not going to wait so long. It should have been done long before I came along. You know that I had the pilots of the B-2s in my office, the famous Oval Office. I had them in the B-2s. They came in to the White House, and we talked about it. They said, you know, sir, for 22 years, our predecessors and us trained for that hit. For 22 years, they were training to take out the nuclear potential of Iran. He said, but it was only when you came along that we did it. And they were so happy that they did it. But they've been training for that hit for 22 years, but no president wanted to do it. They would have had a nuclear weapon within a month, probably within a month or shortly thereafter. And speaking to them would have been much more difficult. In recent weeks, the Navy has supported our mission to blow the cartel terrorists the hell out of the water. You see that? And you know, there are no boats in the water anymore. You can't find any. We're having a hard time finding them. But you know, it's a pretty tough thing we've been doing, but you have to think of it this way. Every one of those boats is responsible for the death of 25,000 American people and the destruction of families. So when you think of it that way, what we're doing is actually an act of kindness. But we did another one last night. Now we just can't find any. You know, it's the old story. We're so good at it that there are no boats. In fact, even fishing boats, nobody wants to go into the water anymore. Sorry to tell you that. But we're stopping drugs coming into America, if that's okay. We're stopping drugs at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Last year, we lost, I believe, 300,000 people. And that's not talking about the destruction to families. Every one of us knows families that have been destroyed because the son, daughter, even mothers and fathers are destroyed by the fentanyl pouring in and drugs pouring in. Well, they're not coming in by sea anymore, so now we'll have to start looking about the land because they'll be forced to go by land. And let me tell you right now, that's not going to work out well for them either. Your commander-in-chief, I will always stand for you. I promise you that. You know that. That's why you voted for me in numbers that nobody's ever seen before. And I want you to know that despite the current Democrat-induced shutdown, we will get our service members every last penny. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. It's all coming. It's coming. And even more because I'm supporting the across-the-board pay raises for every sailor and service member of the United States Armed Forces. But we have to take care of this little gnat that's on our shoulder called the Democrats. They want to give all of our money to illegal aliens that pour into the country. And, you know, I have a bigger heart than they do. But the problem is when you do that, they come in by the millions. Everybody wants that, so you can't do it. But I've also pledged the largest ever investment in our military's history. We're spending over $1 trillion. We've never had anything like that before. $1 trillion on our military, and that includes, along with your Secretary of the Navy and Pete Hegseth, we're going to be building lots of ships and doing a lot of things that you haven't seen happen for 35 years. We'll soon revitalize our once great shipyards with hundreds of billions of dollars in new investments and people coming from all around the world, and they're going to build ships in America. We want them built in America. We will not be politically correct when it comes to defending American freedom. That's why we have renamed the Department of Defense that Department of War, as I said, and we have changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. That was easy. That was an easy one. You know, for years I've looked at it, and I added it up, and I figured we have 92% of the frontage. I say, how come we call it the Gulf of Mexico? I mean, I wouldn't say that Mexico is thrilled with me, but what are you going to do? It's the Gulf of America, and I love it now. I was watching the other night a report, and they said very routinely, in the Gulf of America, this is the, you know, they just went on to talk about it. They didn't do it with a smirk or a smile. They didn't say, in the Gulf of America. No, it's called the Gulf of America now, and nobody's playing games with it. We got sued by the Associated Press, and they lost. In fact, the judge was so good, he said, he's calling it the Gulf of America. He's got all the approvals. You have to do that, too, to the very liberal Associated Press. They got thrown out of court. In fact, they're almost not allowed to cover me anymore because of that. It was a big hit. So I'm very proud of this.